العلم أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدم. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
Has no smell, or it doesn't have a foul smell. Right. These are the main differences in terms of the traits of the blood. Right. In terms of ahkam, in terms of rulings, there's also a difference. Al-hayd, if a woman is going through hayd, she doesn't pray, she doesn't fast, and it is haram for her husband to have intercourse with her. And she cannot do tawaf. As for istihada, حيض نعم طلاق حيض طلاق أحسنت. حيض, a man cannot do طلاق. He cannot divorce his wife during that time. طيب. With regards to istihada, the opposite to all of these ahkam. She has to pray, it's wajib for her to pray, wajib for her to fast. Intercourse is permissible and it is not disliked, as we shall see in the matan. And her husband can divorce her. And she can do tawaf. Basically, she is tahir. She is in a state of purity. Except the fact that this istihada is blood that is constantly, she sees it constantly. Okay, let's go back to the matan now. In the matan, inshallah, pay attention because, not to scare you, but this is probably the most confusing part of Bab al-Hayd. Although Kitab al-Hayd is difficult in general, especially more so for men. Because men don't experience hayd. Normal men do not experience hayd. Men in general do not experience hayd. It's just as a side benefit, how things or the ahkam have to be clarified during one time, one era, and they don't have to be clarified another time of era. Mathalan, you wouldn't need to say that sentence 100 years ago, even 50 years ago, even 20 years ago. You wouldn't need to say that sentence. Now anyone that's teaching fiqh has to clarify that. Likewise, anyone that's teaching nikah has to clarify that an-nikah huwa aqdun bayna rajulin wa imra'a. He has to clarify these ahkam, so take that into consideration. طيب. So now we're going into istihada. وإن عبر أكثره وإن عبر ماذا؟ عبر ماذا؟ حيض. In عبر الحيض, if the hayd passes or exceeds the maximum number of days, which is 15. فمستحاضة, أي هي مستحاضة now. She is a mustahada. Lakin pay attention, if you go back a sentence, a line or two, who was he talking about? أحسنت, the mubtada'a. So naturally he's going to start with the mustahada, that is the mubtada'a. The mustahada, that is the what? Mubtada'a. Why? Because he was talking about her ahkam a minute ago. طيب. With the mustahada, he says, فمستحاضة فإن كان بعد دمها أحمر وبعده أسود ولم يعبر أكثره ولم ينقص عن أقله فهو حيضها. If she sees hayd, he says, and her blood, if the blood, some of it is black and some of it is red, وَلَمْ يَعْبُرْ أَكْثَرَهُ, lakin it doesn't pass the norm, the normal number of days, the maximum number of days, which is what? 15. وَلَمْ يَنْقُصْ عَنْ أَقَلِّهِ, and it doesn't what? It is not less than the least amount of duration for hayd, which is what? 1 day and 1 night. طيب. He says فَحَيْدُهَا. So this is just a repetition. Basically, if she sees hayd and it is less than the maximum and over the one day, one night period, then that is called what? Hayd. So in reality, he hasn't gone into istihada yet. طيب. تجلسه في الشهر الثاني. تجلسه في الشهر الثاني والأحمر استحاضة. تجلسه, during that time, when it's aswad, during that time, when it is aswad, black, then she refrains from salah and she refrains from siyam and other things that hayd prohibits when it is black. And then he says, وَالْأَحْمَرُ, as for when it is red, istihada. Then it is istihada. So he says basically, with her, the mubtada'a, she's the woman, or she's the young woman who starts her hayd, مثلا, let's say at the age of 12. At the very first go, her blood starts to flow. And it doesn't stop. Like it's less than 15 days. So he says the period that it is black, she takes it as hayd. When it is red, she takes it as what? Mustahada. Mustahada. So that is called al-mubtada'a. Write down. Al-mubtada'a, al-mustahada, al-mubtada'a, al-mustahada, al-mumayyiza. Tamyiz. Tamyiz means to be able to differentiate, to tell whether this is that or this is that. So she's able to tell whether it's black blood or red blood. So she's saying basically, they're saying, on the days that she sees red blood, it is her hayd. Let's say from day 1 to 5, or day 1 to 6, she sees black blood. The blood is black. What should she do? That is her hayd. Let's say from day 6 onwards, then what? Her hayd is, from day 6 onwards, and she's still seeing blood, then it is now called what? Istihada. Because we already know that her normal blood is the black blood from day 1 to 5. So she is called al-mustahada, al-mubtada'a, the mustahada, al-mubtada'a. Or you can actually put mubtada'a first. Right? Al-mubtada'a, the woman who started her hayd, al-mustahada, that the blood doesn't stop, that has irregular bleeding, and she's a mumayyiza. She's able to differentiate between the black blood and the red blood. What should she do? Talk back to me. What should do? When it's aswad, the days that it is aswad, that is her what? Hayd. The days that it is red, then that is her what? Istihada. طيب. Why? Because she is a mumayyiza. What did you write? Number 1, mubtada'a, mustahada, mumayyiza. Mumayyiza means she's able to differentiate between damul hayd, the blood of the hayd, and the blood of the istihada. واضح؟ طيب. وإن لم يكن دمها متميزا. Where the Shaykh says وإن لم يكن دمها متميزا, right on top of it, المبتدأة وإن لم يكن دمها متميزا, right? And so basically, if you've got the English one, if she's not able to differentiate between the blood, right? المبتدأة المستحاضة. Why didn't anyone tell me I had the headphones on? Huh? You didn't have the decency to tell me I had the headphones on. Recording what? What do I ever record? Just literally just felt something. طيب. نعم. So right, المبتدأة المستحاضة غير مميزة. المبتدأة المستحاضة غير المميزة. She's the one who's a mubtada'a, she's just started her hayd. Secondly, she's a mustahada, it hasn't stopped. Lakin, on top of that, she can't differentiate between what? the red blood or the dam of the hayd and the blood of the istihada. What does she do? جلست غالب الحيض من كل الشهر. جلست غالب الحيض. She sits, she refrains from ibadah in the ghalib of the hayd, the norm or the custom of the maximum amount of days of hayd. And what did the Shaykh say was the norm? Ahsantum, 6 or 7 days. 6 or 7 days. So she asks مثلا her mother, her sisters, and so on, her aunties, how many days their hayd is for. If they say to her 7, khalas, she refrains from salah for 7 days. If they say to her مثلا 6 days, then 6 days. If they say 5 days, then 5 days. If they say 8 days, then 8 days, depending on what they say. Is that understood? طيب. Why didn't he take her back to, why didn't he say she needs to go back to her aada? She doesn't even have a aada yet. She doesn't have a aada yet. طيب. Summary or khulasa. Al-mubtada'a, when a woman sees hayd from the get-go, her hayd, if she sees it during a normal period of time, at the get-go, 7 days. Khalas, her hayd is 7 days. She's fine. She's not mustahada. But if we have a problem whereby she starts hayd day 1 and it doesn't stop, what does she do? 2 scenarios. There's 2 possibilities. She's either able to tell the difference between the blood of the hayd and the blood of the istihada. If she's able to tell the difference, what does she do? She differentiates. The days that it is black is her hayd, and the days that it is not, what does she do? Is her istihada. As for if she's not able to differentiate between the blood, what should she do? Ask her family members, her close women folk, what their normal days, and then she sits for those amount of days. Sah? طيب. Also with the tamyiz, women need to be careful because sometimes the blood has different traits. We say yes, it is black, and that is the norm. And there are outside effects or reasons why it could not be black. It might not be black. It might be red. Or it might be that the istihada is black. Why? Because of the environment, the food, because of medication that a person could be on, due to a deficiency in iron, for example. Due to a deficiency in iron, as we shall see, it may be that she sees blood for a day and she doesn't even see it for 2 days, although it is her regular cycle. So it's important for women to take that into consideration. طيب. So now we finished the what? Al-mubtada'a, al-mustahada. How many types is the mubtada'a mustahada? 2 types. What are they? Mumayyiza wa ghayr al-mumayyiza. What does the mumayyiza do? She's the one that can differentiate between different blood. Then she should what? The days that it is black is her hayd, the days that it is red, the Shaykh says it is what? Istihada. If she cannot do that, what should she do? Sit for the norm, the custom period for her family folk, for the women in her family. طيب. Now the Shaykh rahimahullah is moving on to al-mustahada al-mu'tada, the woman who's been seeing her hayd for many years. However, somewhere along the line, she started to see irregular bleeding, abnormal bleeding. So, مثلا, let's say from the age of 15, or as soon as, مثلا, let's say the age of 12, she had her hayd, right up until the age of what? 20, مثلا. For those 8 years, her hayd was 7 or 8 days. Let's say her hayd was 7 days. Then she gave birth at the age of 20. After giving birth, her hayd became irregular, or becomes irregular. Sometimes it is 8 days, sometimes it is 10 days, or the blood that she sees is flowing all the time, it's constant. Sah? Or let's say she takes مثلا tablets to prevent her hayd. Then ever since taking the tablets to prevent her hayd, remind me, we're going to see the ruling on this at the end. Ever since she's taken those tablets or she's used contraception, her hayd has not been flowing as normal. Her normal hayd of 7 days has disappeared and now she's got irregular bleeding. And it comes at random times and it goes at random times. That is the meaning of وَالْمُصْطَحَادَةُ الْمُعْتَادَةُ. واضح? طيب. So now we're talking about the woman who constantly sees blood. Like she used to have a aada, she's been experiencing normal hayd. The Shaykh says, rahimahullah, وَالْمُسْتَحَاضَةُ الْمُعْتَادَةُ وَلَوْ مُمَيِّزَةً. Walau, that's the ishara, he's pointing towards the khilaf. Because there are some of the madhahib, such as the Shafi'iyya, they say, let me finish it and then you'll understand the mas'ala. وَالْمُسْتَحَاضَةُ الْمُعْتَادَةُ, the woman who's a mu'tada. Mu'tada means she used to have a normal cycle. وَلَوْ مُمَيِّزَةً, even if she's able to differentiate between the damul hayd, the blood of the hayd, and the blood of the istihada, what should she do? تَجْلِسُ عَادَتَهَا, she sits for her normal number of days. She sits for her normal number of days. Is that understood? طيب. That is the mustahada, that is the mu'tada. The mustahada, that is the mu'tada. So write, this is going to be of three types. So write, al-mustahada, al-mu'tada is of three types. The mustahada, that is mu'tada. Remember the 20-year-old that we said that she's been experiencing for 8 years? She is now of three types. Her type of istihada is of three types. The first is the one that the Shaykh rahimahullah mentions. So you write number one, al-mustahada al-mu'tada. The mustahada that has a normal customary number of days of hayd. Mathalan, previously her hayd was 6 days. That is the first category. So we want to know the category and the ruling. The category is what? The first category is al-mustahada al-mu'tada. The woman who now she sees hayd, istihada, she sees irregular bleeding. She's seeing it all the time. But if we go back a few months, she had a normal menses duration, 6 days, let's say. With me? That is the category. The hukum is what? The Shaykh says, تَجْلِسُ عَادَتَهَا. She sits and leaves off the salah for her aada, according to her normal period of hayd, the normal time. In this case, we said her normal time was what? 6 days. Therefore now, while she was going through these number of days, her normal blood is also afwan. Now that she's going through this irregular bleeding, she only needs to count how many days? 6 days. Surah al-Mas'ala. On the let's say she always used to get her hayd on the first of every month. The first of what? Every month. On the first of the month, she sees blood. Sah? And then it doesn't stop on the 6th. The blood just carries on. What should she do? From the 1st to the 6th, that is her hayd. Wadih? Is that understood? 1st to the 6th is her hayd. Anything after the 6th, she has her ghusl, and she's now a mustahada, which is irregular bleeding. You may ask, what is the difference? I say to you, go back to the rulings that you studied now. The difference between damul hayd and damul istihada. Wadih? Who can summarize that for me? Just that first category. Okay. The woman that had a normal period of hayd, normal number of time.
She's now got her normal hayd for 6 days.
Her normal hayd was 6 days.
And she's now noticed that the blood has continued after 6 days as well.
She now sees blood that is longer than 6 days. So she's confused now. My hayd was 6 days, she says. Go on.
So what she does is, what the Rana says for her to do is for her to refrain from ibadah for those 6 days.
Refrain from ibadah for those normal 6 days that she used to get her hayd.
Then she has ghusl, and then she continues as normal,
as a mustahada. And then on after the 6th day, when she has her ghusl, her hayd, from that moment that she has her, from the 6th day onwards, she has what? A ghusl, and from now on she is considered to be a mustahada. Wadih? طيب. And the evidence for that, the Prophet ﷺ said to Hamna bint Bajahsh, فتحيضي 6 أيام أو 7 أيام في علم الله ثم اغتسلي. So he said sallallahu alayhi wasallam, consider your haid to be 6 days or 7 days, depending on what your haid was, or what is the customary period for your women folk, and then have a ghusl. طيب. The next is وَإِن نَسِيَتْهَا. وَإِن نَسِيَتْهَا. However, if she forgets نسيتها, نسيت ماذا؟ العادة. أحسنتم. If she forgets her عادة, her normal number of days. Before we said her normal days were 6 days. She forgets it's now 6 days. نسيتها, she forgot. On there, right, on top of وَإِن نسيتها, right, المستحاضة المميزة. المستحاضة, the woman that is going through مستحاضة, دم الاستحاضة, blood of استحاضة. المميزة, that is now, we're going to ask her to differentiate between the different blood. طيب. وَإِن نَسِيَتْهَا, if she forgets. This is the second category. So the second category is what? A woman who is who used to have a number of days of haid, but she forgot. She no longer knows. Or her haid beforehand was irregular itself. Sometimes she would get it 5 days, sometimes 6 days, sometimes 8 days, sometimes 7. Is the category understood? Just here, all we need to know is the category and the hukum, and it will be simple. The second category is what? Of women. A woman who forgets her normal haid. Or even before her normal the istihada, it was irregular. Sometimes 6, sometimes 7, sometimes 8. The hukum is what? عملت بتمييز الصالح. عملت, she acts according to the tamyiz that is salih, which is suitable. So the blood that is possible for her to have during haid, if it is black, and she knows the traits of that, and she can describe, she knows whether it is haid or istihada, the blood, the smell and so on, then she acts according to that. If her days are what? So let's say 5 days are thick blood that has a smell that is dark. That is what? Haid. She refrains from salah. Anything after that, if she notices that blood changes, different colors and so on, then that is considered istihada. So from the 5th day onwards, she carries on. After having ghusl, she prays as normal. Understood? Sah? Also, salih means, or can mean, it doesn't exceed 15 days. It doesn't exceed 15 days. Because aslan, that's the most amount of haid anyway. So that 15 days, let's say she's seen black haid or black blood or dark blood for 16, 17, 18 days, then we know that is not what? It is not haid. How do we know it can't be haid? Because the maximum number of haid is what? 15 days. Ahsantum. So that is called al-amalu bi-tamyiz. She acts upon differentiating between the blood. The blood that is haid and the blood that is what? Tamyiz. And the evidence for that, the hadith of Fatima bint Abi Hubaysh radiyallahu anha, in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to her, إِذَا كَانَ دَمُ الْحَيْدَةِ فَإِنَّهُ أَسْوَدٌ يُعْرَفُ. If your blood is, she used to obviously go through istihada. If your blood is black, if the haid is black, then that is the dam. If the blood is black, then that is a haid, and it is known. فإذا كان ذلك, if it is like that, black, يعني dark, فأمسكي عن الصلاة, refrain from salah. فإذا كان الآخر, if it is the other type, which is what? Not the dark one, the red one, حي استحاضة, فتوضئي وصلي فإنما هو عرق. Then pray, make wudu and pray, because it is only a vein that is letting out blood. So that is al-amal bit-tamyiz. How many categories have we done so far? 2. The first is what? Al-mustahada al-mu'tada. And who is the mustahada al-mu'tada? She has her normal number of days that she used to have a menses for. Her menses for 6 days or 7 days. Al-hukum or al-amal, what should she do? Huh? She follows whatever her custom was, her norm was. The second category that we've studied just now, mustahada, al-mumayyiza. She's now able to differentiate. She says, I don't have I can't remember what my number of days were. Or it used to be irregular itself, 6 days, 7 days, 8 days and so on. Like one thing I can do for you, Ya Mufti, is I can say to you, I know the difference between the red, the hayd, damul hayd and the damul istihada. So she's met you halfway. Meet her halfway, what is the hukum you're going to give her? You act according to the differentiation that you can do. Is that understood? طيب. Then the Shaykh says, فَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ لَهَا تَمْيِيزٌ. If she doesn't have tamyiz, if she doesn't have tamyiz and she can't differentiate between them, the blood. Right on top of there, فَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ لَهَا, right there, if she doesn't have, the English obviously reads, if she doesn't have or she doesn't know the difference, she can't differentiate, right next to that, al-mustahada al-mutahayyira. Al-mustahada al-mutahayyira. The mustahada that is confused. The mustahada that is confused. Why is she called the mustahada al-mutahayyira? Because she doesn't have a ada. She says, I don't know what it was once upon a time, if it was 6 days or 7 days. Furthermore, Ya Mufti, I do not even know the difference between this blood of hayd and this blood of the istihada. I can't tell. So they say she's confused. Sah? They also call her al-muhayyira. She causes the Mufti confusion as well. So she's mutahayyira fi nafsiha, al-muhayyira li ghayriha. She makes the other person confused as well, which is the Mufti. So what is that third category? Who is that third category? Al-mustahada al-mutahayyira. And who is she, Ya Muhammad? She can't remember. She doesn't have a ada, or she doesn't remember her ada. And she can't differentiate between the dam of the hayd and the dam of mustahada. Al-hukum. Your next question should be, what is her hukum? Al-hukum فَغَالِبُ الْحَيْدِ. فَغَالِبُ الْحَيْدِ. Her hayd, or the number of days she refrains from salah and siyam, fasting, is غَالِبُ الْحَيْد, the normal maximum number of days for hayd. And what is the ghalib? 6 or 7 days? لا غالب. لا غالب mean غالب meaning the norm. لا أكثر is 15. غالب meaning the norm. Did I say it was the maximum? عفوا معذرة. The norm 6 to 7. أحسنتم. He said it in the matan. 6 to 7. So what she does is she asks her family members, the other women in her family, what their normal hayd is. And then she refrains from salah during that time. So let's say her mother or her sisters say to her, our hayd is 6 days, or our hayd is 7 days. On the first day, she normally gets her hayd from day 1 to day 7 or day 6, she stops from salah, depending on what they tell her. If they say to her, our normal hayd is 5 days, then from day 1 to day 5. Is that understood? طيب. How many categories? 3. How many? نعم, 3. The first, mu'tada. Summarize, mu'tada. What does she do? Go back to her ada. The second, al-mumayyiza, the one that can differentiate between the different type of blood. What does she do? She acts according to whatever she can differentiate. Al-thalitha, the third is what? Al-mutahayyira. What does she do? She asks her family what the norm is that they have hayd for, and then she counts it as those number of days.